Okay, I'm here at the house of Conan, and I'm here with Conan, not by myself. This is Reno P, back with another episode of Vancouver Subculture Living. How are you, Conan?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Well, it's been, there's a lot of snow here right now, time of recording.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of it washed away, right?
Yeah, I think it's still like the roads are clearing up a bit, but it's still a bit of a hassle.
I blame the rain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's been okay. It's a good Sunday right now, right?
Yeah.
Just just here talking about stuff. So I guess if you've never listened to my previous episodes, I don't blame you. It's fine. It's kind
you never showed them to me.
Did I? No, I thought I plugged them in a while. Speaking of plugging, is this podcast sponsored by anything, Conan?
Sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
It's an awesome new game that we've been playing, right?
Yeah. Level up your skeleton guy and
No, not actually sponsored. And I don't think I could ever play that game. Even I don't know. The whole sponsorship situation just seems kind of like I don't know. What do you think about it?
I don't know. Like probably they pay a lot of money to plug their over 200 champions to choose from.
It just seems so like. I don't know when people are plugging their sponsors, and I guess it's part of the deal, right? Like it's something they have to oblige to, but just so I don't know, not like gratuitous, I guess.
Yeah,
or disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean it's very obviously very fake, but I mean I think that's how a lot of streamers, that's where their money comes from, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the machine, right?
Yeah.
Like this is like how you make your living. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Not making fun of those people who do, but I mean, this is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Every time you watch Trump, the Hearthstone player, right? Do his little plugs.
Oh yeah, especially for Raid.
Is he sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends too?
Oh yeah, everyone is.
Raid Shadow Legends must be the greatest game ever.
Probably.
Yeah. So right on the topic of the head, I always ask. So you were born in Vancouver, Canada,
yep.
BC,
mm-hmm.
lived here all your life?
Yep. Oh, that's right. Oops.
Oh, should you get
pause
that?
It? Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, we'll pause here then. Okay, we're back. Sorry for the pause. I'm not going to edit it because we do things raw. Also, I'm lazy. So
I think it only takes 5 seconds to chop it.
That's way too much work for me to go back.
All right. We do it raw. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Things happen all the time. Last week I was at BB House. The Blaze Blue House.
Oh yeah.
Steve, Sebastian,
yeah.
And we just did it there, and whatever happened. Steve was unpacking his stuff too, and just making all those sounds, and then these mics pick up everything, right?
Yeah.
Lives not that close to. He lives in Burnaby, further down Kingsway, but it's. I mean, I wouldn't walk from there to here.
Maybe we should check out the recording, see if it's picking up a lot of the outside conversation. Sometimes, I know in these recordings, sometimes something that you can barely even hear in person is really loud on the recording.
I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's not a concern because, in my experience, it's fine.
Okay.
I've arrived recording more public spaces, and it's fine. It's just really picking up, the proximity, right?
Well, there's different ways you can set it, right?
Yeah, of course. But again, I mean, I probably should learn more about this mic. Blue Yetis are pretty powerful, and I should learn more of the intricacies behind it. But whatever. I'll get to it later. Maybe you can show me.
Well, I don't exactly know, but yeah, maybe one day you'll meet John.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that'd be a cool podcast to do. If I just shuffle these two, it clearly picks it up, right?
Oh yeah.
So, but it's again, there's been worse, and
yeah,
honestly, this is more like a personal project. I don't really care. So, but you're free to also to use it for yourself.
Oh, okay.
I'll link you it later, and then you can
Sweet.
If you ever need some kind of piece, then it's there.
And
right?
put it on my what do you call it? My voice reel.
What's that?
It's your portfolio if you're into voice acting or something.
Oh, are you working on that?
Kind of. I think I'm gonna try taking some classes. People always tell me that I should do some kind of voice acting or something. I don't think my voice is necessarily that nice. I think they're like, oh, it's low. That must mean you should do radio, right?
I think it works. It's like the way your voice is picking up. It's just really like you're giving out weird sound waves according to the program.
Yeah.
Not weird. Like maybe those are the ASMR vibes, or I don't know.
Maybe. Anyways, like, I mean, I think either way, I wouldn't really know if I'm good at it until I, try a bit and like learn a few things, right? So
Yeah, you kind of like explore that world, right?
yeah.
Yeah, maybe we could always just do more episodes too, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
You don't live that far. I mean, your place now is pretty easy to get to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's like not.
Yeah, when I lived in my other place, it's like
That was quite a.
yeah, it's like I was like, I like hanging out with Justin, but not that much.
Whoa.
Not like all
Who
the
is
way
this
to.
Justin person you're speaking of? I'm Reno Pete. No, I'm just kidding. It's okay. It's just like.
Oh, yeah. Wait, do you have an online handle here?
No, just for this podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but no, you can just call me Justin.
All right.
Like it doesn't. Again, like whoever listens to this, it's not like.
Sorry, I mean XX Naruto Master 69.
Oh, you're giving away my small gun. I was watching this podcast by Joe Rogan and
Yeah.
like Bill Mayer.
Your favorite, yeah.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's best, and Bill Mayer. Yeah, and they're just talking about this whole walking on eggshells, like watching what you say about like social media, right?
Yeah.
For fear of backlash, I guess.
I mean,
I don't know how that world works.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Like,
We'll explore it another time. But I'm nobody, so I don't really have to care about that, right? It's like
yeah.
Like,
and I mean, I don't think you really need to, regardless. Like, no one's career like ended because of like a little off Twitter comment. It's
well, that's what the point that we were making was
Right.
that this one football player was cut from his team because he made this this tweet or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it has to be something like pretty bad,
Probably.
like, if you're a reasonable person, you're not gonna say something that bad by mistake,
Yeah, because like it's like I don't know. I'm not sure. Like it.
I mean, yeah, there's like cases, like historically, like who's that guy from like Seinfeld?
Kramer.
I guess so. It's like the tall guy who always like slides into a scene,
I know who you're talking about. I don't watch
the funny hair,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a comedian, and then
Of course.
like back in the 90s or early 2000s, like he was like being heckled by like
In
like
the 90s. Or recently.
no, it was like a while ago. Like he hasn't been relevant for like some time. Like you never see him in anything, right?
No. Well, I don't know. Don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, I think he was getting heckled by like, I mean, I think it was like a black guy or something like that, and so he just started, like calling him racial slurs, like
Right.
like a very very extended rant, and then like I don't know if this was at this time people were able to like record things on their phone, but like he was like done after that, like
Oh, that kind of like really.
yeah, it's like a lot of the other actors like Jerry Seinfeld still, he's
Still
got
working.
his show where he gets like coffee with people or whatever.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like but yeah, some people are just donezo after like a really bad.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Also, lots of people just like just do a lot of bad stuff like repeatedly, and like like Chris Brown or whatever. So
For whatever reason, right? They do such things. But that's also what I sometimes think about. Like, is it the platform enabling them, or is it like this is the person, or I don't know. There's a lot of things to consider.
yeah. I'm not sure if this is what you wanted the
Nope. I mean,
the podcast to be about. Yeah.
No, it's about anything. It's like we can do whatever we want, man. It's my podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, you can spout racial slurs if you want. It doesn't look bad on me. I don't know.
I think that looks a little bad on you.
Yeah, probably.
I would advise against that one.
I mean, I wouldn't do it for the sake of it anyways. Like, like, I'm just saying, like, go ahead if you want to.
Okay,
Feel free.
sure.
But I don't think we're the kind of people who would just do that. For,
And probably not. Maybe. I
at
don't
least
know.
not out of, like, malicious, intentional intent, maybe. I don't know.
Anyways.
Yeah. Back to what we were saying before. Born, raised, live here forever. Well, you went to the Philippines, I guess, for quite a bit, A couple months?
No, just 1 month. Actually, it was. I went around Europe for a couple months, but
What, Europe?
yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember you did that. Yeah. I don't know if you like lived the life of like what local people.
I mean, kind of. It's different because it's like I've got like money, right? I mean,
Yes.
I mean that's like a real difference you have to acknowledge. But it's like I stayed with family who are not rich.
Right.
Like we lived in like a very normal house for people there. It's like like pretty crowded. The house doesn't have like good insulation, so it gets like really like it's kind of like open. It's like above the wall, like above the walls and below the roof there's space.
Okay.
And it's like I don't know, it's like a tin or aluminum roof or something like that, so it gets like super hot. Lots of bugs inside and stuff like that.
Right.
There's a lizard in the bathroom that sticks its tongue at you when you pee.
Yeah, he's made good friends with that guy.
Yeah, they're pretty cute. They
Hey,
like
buddy.
scamper up the wall. Sometimes they fall over and on their back and they kind of like flail around. They're pretty funny actually.
Yeah, they have those in my country in Jakarta.
Yeah. Similar countries, I think.
Yeah, Southeast Asia, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you got good, like a taste of what that life, I guess, is like, right?
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's I was only there for like a month.
Yeah, it's not like, compared to like a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Like where we are now, like we're like in a house with like seems pretty comfy, right, in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So it's just a different world, right?
Yeah. Totally.
How has things, I guess, from early on, as a kid or whatever?
Yeah.
What have you noticed changed throughout the times? Anything noticeable? Or I mean, I'm sure there's many things, but if you had to narrow it down.
Yeah, I mean, like I've moved around a tiny bit, but I think as we mentioned, I grew up in New West, which is
I did not mention that, but
oh, okay. Well, I grew up in New West, which I think is really kind of I don't want to say the poster child, but it's certainly one of the areas where you can see kind of the most dramatic changes over the last 20 years or whatever.
Is it
right?
the G word?
Definitely, and I think New West is a little bit has like a couple of different layers to it. It's like definitely is kind of like when I was growing up as a kid, it was sort of like lower income area known as a sketchy neighborhood.
Sketchy neighborhood.
As people say or whatever. And I mean, I think there's still kind of that element to it. There is like a lot of like social service hubs there. I believe when I was growing up, there's a lot of like halfway houses there, and I think there still are.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, it's over on like 10th Street and like I mean, kind of up in that. You probably just don't go in that particular area.
I mean, I don't frequent the city a lot, so
yeah. But there's also sort of the element of there's just like a lot of like retirees there for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
And I don't spend as much time in New West as I used to, but I think there's still kind of there, right?
Yeah. And like, so like the things that that's kind of what's in the area, right? So going from there, like, anything like super different from like your childhood to now?
Yeah, I mean, like in a lot of areas around Vancouver, you see a lot of kind of a younger crowd. I think.
Okay, so the people.
Maybe not as much as in some of the other areas, but what you can see is the ways in which the city or the developers are really trying to draw in that crowd.
Oh, really?
Right.
Well, in what ways? Like, what do you mean? Like high rises and stuff? Or?
Yeah, I mean, well, high rise is obviously where they want to put them, but also, like the whole half of the quay got, like complete overhaul.
Right.
Newest Station got a real facelift, and it used to be nothing there. But
I didn't remember what it looked like before.
There's just nothing. It's just like a SkyTrain that you go and you get off and you take a bus somewhere, right?
It feels so strange looking at it now. Like, what did it look like before? I hardly remember.
Yeah, it's like a whole mall now, right, with a movie theater and everything. But
like best movie theater,
kind of, yeah.
Which is not sponsoring this podcast.
I mean, if you're listening, but yeah, there's there's the key. I think the city has done a lot of taken a lot of initiative to sort of draw in even tourists. I think I don't know if they're still running it, but they had the food truck festival.
Yeah, that's pretty. I think
right? Is that still going?
Yeah, I think there was like last year. I believe there was.
Yeah, I remember there was like a lot of like free concerts in Uptown, New West.
Where in Uptown, like?
By like the library.
Were there?
Yeah, I remember. I mean, like, I haven't. I wandered into like more than one that I hadn't really heard of. I was just like going to the library to study or something, and then it's just like
There's a
some
concert.
bands are playing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's initiatives to like try and revitalize.
Yeah, and they often put up decorations on the main street there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they're really kind of pushing for it, I think. I mean, I think it's it remains to be seen if it's really going to be adopted as like the new hot spot. Like I feel like Brentwood will probably be a little bit more successful there.
Yeah, there's like have the development going on, right?
Yeah, and I think like this Joyce area is like sort of the inverse. While it's not really hasn't really seemed to have been as developed. Like people like want it more. Like the rent is more expensive. Like geographically, it's closer to downtown. There's lots of things on Kingsway that you want to be close to. So
Yeah, especially in your area. Ooh.
yeah.
It's so strange though. That it's like it's kind of in between. Like it's like right before downtown Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
And then everything else, right?
Yeah, it's very easy to get everywhere from here.
Do you find it convenient to live here now?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I want to be a little bit closer to the SkyTrain, but it's actually not too bad. It's like a 5-minute,
Yeah, it's not far.
bus to 29th, and
Oh, bus? You just walk. Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Oh, 29th. Okay, yeah.
yeah, or like a 15-minute walk to the station.
Yeah. Not too far from all. This is like Safeway. It's pretty close, right?
Yeah, lots of Asian grocery stores. Yeah. But yeah, so I've definitely seen New West change a lot.
Over the time.
Yeah, as I said, like really kind of this sort of layered blend of, kind of the old populace of New West, sort of like,
Retirees.
yeah, the retirees, flocking around the mall or taking up the sidewalk or whatever. Younger people, like the sort of the old familiar faces of like the begging crowd there or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, our high school is also actually finally getting built.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wow, after what, like 10 plus years?
I mean, like, I was supposed to graduate in that building.
Oh, really?
supposedly.
Wow. Okay,
That
that's
was
really old.
quite a while ago.
Yeah,
but
a
yeah, they're
long
actually
time
finally
ago.
developed. Like, they're building it. Like, it's
Well,
quite a far wide into it now. So
oh, okay. Well,
yeah, which is kind of not strange, but I mean, I guess it says something that there are still kids going to that school.
yeah. I mean, it's so it's the only high
US
school
public school
Yeah.
for. But I don't know what the population. I don't know what the demographics are for New West now.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm kind of like don't really have my finger on the pulse of New West anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I never had it, but this is like observations.
Yeah.
People live there. That's all I can really say.
Yes, we do believe there is a population.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just in my observations. It's like times have changed. Like I guess I do dwell on the past a lot, just to kind of see what mistakes not to make.
Yeah.
I still make them anyways. But, I don't know. I just get a totally different feeling from like Vancouver in general, like compared to what it was, like what it used to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it's because like I'm older now, things are more accessible and like seeable, but like I don't know, maybe it's just pessimism, but I feel like there's a lot of like vainness,
Yeah, I suppose.
or it could have always just been there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like a complicated concept. Like, what do you mean by vainness exactly?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I guess it kind of ties into like media and everything and whatever, but like
Yeah.
trends
Yeah,
always
yeah.
exist, right?
Yeah.
Because that's
Sure.
what trend means, right? But I find like trends come and go very fast,
Yeah, of course. I mean,
like faster than before. Like it's like,
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Like, I think we've been like, you can see people sort of like cycling through fashion at a faster rate.
Is that a fact though? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know, but I think I think certainly that seems like it may be the case. I feel like we're sort of going through the cycle of what like cut of jeans is fashionable like a lot faster. It's like we went through like low rise in like the mid 2000s, right?
Is that when like people wore their like jeans like near their knees kind of thing?
No, like, well, I'm kind of thinking more of like women's jeans because it's kind of like a more noticeable difference. But like low cut jeans were
low cut. Okay.
Yeah, but then I feel like a mere 10 years later, and I mean I guess this perhaps a reasonable amount of time, but it's like already well into like high rise jeans, and that's I don't know. I feel like we're kind of getting over the hill with that one.
I mean, I'm it's not something I've noticed really. I mean, I don't know. Not that I haven't. It's just I just don't look at it, guys. I don't know. I'm not sure, but okay, that's an interesting idea. There's a lot of I don't know. I'm not sure really what to think about young people nowadays. I mean, they're mostly fine. Those I interact with are totally cool. I just feel like things are just super fast.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Faster than before.
I mean, like we have information reaching us faster. Everyone is able to jump on trends faster because they're more informed, I guess, and maybe because of social media, there's like more drive to either be seen as fashionable or to differentiate yourself, which further drives. Like, I mean, and all these things, I don't really think any of these things are like particularly bad.
Okay.
It's just, I mean,
it's just the thing that happens.
Yeah, it's just this, something people have always done, but perhaps just maybe slightly accelerated now due to technology.
So I think there might be like a technological element to all this kind of movement.
Yeah, of course.
Or consumerism, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. I guess. Yeah, that does make sense when I think about it.
I mean, like, and maybe another way you could look at it is like something I've been thinking about, sort of like, the explosion of nerd culture and, like trading card games like Magic are more popular now. Figures are more popular, I think, because like a lot of people our age have sort of abandoned dreams of like saving up for like houses or like even vehicles. And,
that's
like,
interesting.
Right, so when that's like, or of having families, like a lot of people are no longer interested in having kids, and now they have all this disposable income for, some would say relatively frivolous things, right?
Oh, I never considered that. Yeah, and I agree with that. I see that. I just never like thought like of like articulating that. I thought like that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's like people are making less money relatively now, but it's like when they're not, when they're like not paying a rent or a mortgage, and they have more money to
it's
spend
more like
on.
There's like no focus on the end game.
I mean, I think just the end game
like
is
the now game, I guess,
is no longer reachable. So
I mean, yeah, and I'm sure there's many reasons as to why.
Yeah, and I think that's probably better covered elsewhere, right?
I mean, I don't have any expertise with it. So.
It's fairly simple. It's just wages have stagnated. A
lot of economic.
Yeah, it's just the money is accumulating at the top. It's very clear cut, very like obvious in numbers.
Oh, it's so interesting though. I never thought of it like it's like all this result of like the money, like just like the economics, and like it's like really having these effects on society as to like what to value.
Yeah, and I mean, I think maybe even extending this a little bit, it's sort of like there's a real economic anxiety, which you can actually like increase luxury spending.
Economic anxiety, as in like worrying about how much money you do or you have. Or you don't have? Okay.
Yeah, like I mean, we saw that we saw this in the previous 20s, right? Where no one's got any money. You think like spending on luxury goods would go down because people are where they don't have enough resources, right? But actually, certain goods, certain things like going to the movies was actually more was actually more successful because people want an escape from sort of this anxiety, these negative feelings.
Oh, an escape.
Yeah, right.
Okay, a way to kind of take your mind off of
Yeah.
the... Oh.
Right, and maybe it's been a while since I've like read about these things, so I'm probably talking out of my ass a little, but...
No, but do you think that's kind of applicable to what you just said? Like how people kind of spend things on more frivolous things to kind of take away from that, like at least subconsciously, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very stressful time right now. I mean, I think, certain real world conditions, one could argue are worse now, like the environment, perhaps like the, politics, but are really like on many levels, like people are more aware of these things, right? People care more about these things, which I think is a good thing. Okay. But it's really quite hard because we are stuck in this system which there's really nothing you can do about it, right?
That's how I feel. It seems like it's kind of like there's no, it's like useless to struggle against this kind of current.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a word for it. I'm just futility. There we go. Exercises of futility. Yeah.
And I don't want to say that there's nothing you can do per se, but it's difficult. You have to create some amount of garbage to live as a human being, right? Mm-hmm. You have to, or at the very least, you profit from unethical systems which create garbage, or
to gain, there must be some kind of loss, kind of idea.
Yeah, I mean, our whole way of life depends on really other people being less well off than us, basically.
Which is, do you believe that now, or like do you believe that's just how it is right now? Like, do you believe that like that's the way it has to be, or I don't know, what do you think?
No, I don't think that's the way it has to be, but it certainly is the way
that's the way it is though right now.
Yeah, like think about if you want to even enjoy like a relatively innocuous luxury item, like you want to eat some nuts, sure, right? You want to eat some pistachios or something, like or cashews. Did you know that like cashews they have to be shelled by hand? There's no machine process.
There's no mechanical design for
it. Or at least, it's not, at least they don't do that, or it's not cost efficient to do that. So
okay.
For us to eat, shelled cashews at, $20 for a huge like container from Costco, right? Someone has to sit there and shell each of these nuts, right?
Right.
And if that person was making a living wage by our standards, like, how long do you think it would take to shell that whole container? Probably take like, hours, right? Or even if they were really good at like maybe even just 1 hour. Mm-hmm. And a living wage here is $25.
Sure.
That's already more than it costs us to buy those nuts, right? So
yeah,
that would obviously not be possible, right?
Because the cost would way exceed like the right.
So if you have like $25 on labor, and then the raw goods, I'd imagine, I don't know, like if you made it like $10, and then shipping and distribution, like quickly these cashews will become 2 or 3 times the price they currently are, right?
Now here's a question: do you think people would still buy cashews at that price?
I mean, less people would, but certainly some people still would. Yes, I mean, I think like any other good,
cashews just become like a super luxury.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens with a lot of things. Like like lobster used to be a very undervalued
commodity.
Yeah, or tuna. Like no one wanted to buy tuna in America, right? Mm-hmm. Only like it was just like a junk fish. Only like these only these strange Japanese people wanted to buy it, and right, but now it's like,
look at it now,
premium. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's so scary how to think about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I remember you telling me like quite a long time ago, you're like, you have this idea like people don't need to work.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think maybe not nobody needs to work.
No, I mean, like, obviously it's like a very raw statement, right? But like you were saying like how people like could sustain themselves if they were just like farm or whatever, or like I don't know, I can't remember what the way you phrased it, but it was like, if we just like work for what we needed for like necessities, then like we could sustain ourselves. I think that was the idea.
I mean, I think even more than that. I think because machinery and has made things so much more efficient and continues to make things so much more efficient and less labor intensive over time. Yeah, I think, and I think this is actually a fairly uncontroversial idea.
Really?
But
okay.
I think most people probably don't actually, like, we could support huge amounts of the population not doing a thing at all. Right? And when you think about it, like, a lot of, like, most people in Canada, I imagine, are, in the, are involved in, like, tertiary labor in, like, offices and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's a kind of a tongue-in-cheek stereotype, but I really do think it's true that a lot of people in offices don't actually do anything, right? Or contribute very minimally to society. So
can you attest to that?
like I've had some brief office experience, and there's definitely so many hours wasted of people not doing anything, and really I think a lot
From
of
what I hear, yeah,
there's
like surfing the internet, like on the Twitter or their feeds or whatever, and like, are you working? Not right now. Like, wow, it's been like 4 hours, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of research shows that it's very difficult to be productive for more than like 4 to 6 hours in that kind of work to begin with. And even within that 4 to 6 hours, like, how much of that is actually really contributing to society,
As a whole, right?
And we have all of these kinds of labors, like marketing, which, arguably that doesn't feed anybody, doesn't clothe anyone, doesn't shelter anyone, right?
Like directly, right?
Yeah, it just kind of like swirling resources around,
Yeah, then you're paying people like big bucks for this, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, you have, fairly ridiculous uses of money in many ways. You have, people hoarding, billions of dollars, which is like kind of,
Just in cash?
Huh?
Just cash, or like, just like, what do you mean?
I mean, some people, have it in their bank accounts or whatever, but I mean, like, there's no...
Oh, you mean like it's there, it's not being used, it's just being held on to.
Yeah.
Like, you could use this money to do something for society, but it's just sitting there kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like, like Jeff Bezos could
house all the homeless people in America.
And also, like, he could completely fund completely fund the reversal of the damage done by the fires in Australia with like 6 days work.
Wow, really?
But he's
was that an analysis?
But he's donated nothing. Amazon has donated, I think, 1.75 million. But for him, that's the equivalent of like you or me donating $1.99.
Like, you could do way more.
Yeah, you could. I mean, which is not to say that we should expect or rely on billionaires to solve the world's problems. I think, like,
of course, I mean, that's
there
is an expectation, but like, it's not like realistic to do so, to rely on that.
And I mean, it's just not a democratic use of the world's resources, right? Like, they have their own agendas. Like, even if they are, pure and benevolent, they're also, not trained to make political decisions. Just because someone is very good at, putting junk in boxes, or like very good at basketball or something like that, doesn't mean that they are,
obligated, or
it doesn't mean that they'd be good at deciding how to best.
Of course.
And there's a great I don't know if I showed you the other day, there's a show, The Patriot Act, with Hassan Minhaj.
Nope, I haven't seen that.
And he did a good episode on this very topic about like billionaire philanthropy, and how it's it's a lot of problems with it. It's like,
it's not as easy as just like throwing money around and fixing things.
No, and even the ones who do, sometimes they don't do it very efficiently, right? And it just like their efforts are wasted.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, it's not as simple as just like you say, like, it has to be done properly, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ideas there that, so it's like, just because you have a lot of money and like you could like do something, like, like, I don't know if you should or you shouldn't. That's really up to them, right? That's.
I mean, I think there's a lot of different things one could argue there. Like, some people, might argue that, yeah, they do have responsibility, like.
Okay.
you know, like to be kind of, you know, cutesy here, like, you know, with great power comes great responsibility is one school of thought, you know. And other people might argue that it's immoral to have that much power in the first place.
No, yeah, of course.
Right?
Like, that shouldn't have not... We were talking about the other day how, like, there's, like, the American Constitution or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
It was, like, about how, there's some kind of law about, like, I don't know, but, like, they did not obviously see Amazon coming, like, how many years from then, like, when they made it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, again, you know, acknowledging that I'm just kind of talking my ass here about something I don't necessarily know a lot about.
It's okay. It's a podcast, whatever.
But I mean, yeah, I think there's definitely like a different sense of capitalism, perhaps, or you know, maybe that's just the way that we view it now, like sort of, you know, with rose-colored glasses and whatnot. But there was kind of like a, you know, and it's still kind of an inherently exploitative, you know, system, yada yada, right? And lots of people were exploited at the time, yada yada,
right?
But I think there was certain things like how, you know, like a lot of the classic capitalists, like Ford, you know, really believe that you should pay your workers enough that they can afford the product they're creating. You know, that was one of his tenant, you know, and others like, who's like that American, sort of the steel, I think he was
manufacturer.
Yeah, and he's started with a C or whatever. What's the name again?
No, it escapes me.
Carnegie. I think Andrew Carnegie was his name. And I think he's quoted somewhere as saying that he thinks it's kind of dishonorable for, you know, a rich man to die with all of his money, right? And you can see that there is a lot of you know, buildings named after him that he's funded, a lot of, you know, endless like Carnegie museums and stuff like that. I mean, on the other hand, you know, like, this is not necessarily to say that that's a good thing. Like, this is a way that, you know, the ultra rich justify their, you know, the absurd wealth inequalities is by saying like, oh, but we're doing good things with it.
But
you
are
know,
they really, kind of thing?
But, you know, yeah, and even if they were, again, we talked about there's kind of problems with that. But
yeah,
I think that sort of they're not even attempting to pretend that they're doing anything good with the money anymore. They're just sort of like, you know, hoarding it like, you know, angry dragons, like
guarding their treasure.
Yeah, you know.
Like, why do you need this treasure dragon? No, but it's mine.
Yeah, like before, you know, they would pretend that, you know, they're using it on good stuff, but now they're not even pretending.
They're just like, yeah, this is mine.
You can't have any of it. In fact, I'm going to take more from you.
And that's the thing, is like, it's with the example of Amazon, it's like, I won't say reliant, but like, it's kind of really good, like, service to, like, you know, buy from.
Yeah, I mean,
killing local stores like Toys R Us. Oh no.
Does Toys R Us blame Amazon for that?
I mean, I don't know directly, but like, if you think about it, like, you want to go to a toy store, like, well, you could go buy toys, or you could just go on Amazon and have a drone ship your toy to you, and it's probably cheaper.
Do kids even play with toys anymore?
You know, the kids I teach, they're more like Fortnite kids, or like whatever computer games.
Yeah.
Toys, I don't know. I'm not sure. I like toys.
Well, yeah, it's only grown ass adults that like toys anymore.
And I was gonna mention that you mentioned about the whole nerd culture popping up and being like, I remember like listening to the Command Zone podcast and like there was that, you know, Josh would make that quote and it's like, oh, remember when I was like a nerd in school and like superheroes were like, you know, you're beat up for liking comic books, but like, look at the movie industry now. It's all about superheroes. Yeah. I think there's a lot of issues behind that kind of thing. Like, I like that movie series, don't get me wrong. That superhero movie series, but I think there's a lot of implications for it. Like, you're kind of painting an image of like of greatness in the form of like what you see on screen, right? So like when I see like like for example, Captain America is super patriotic. His name is Captain America, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then when people in other countries like, I love Captain America, like, why? Like, he's like, you're not American. He's like a super patriotic hero guy, but like you like idolize this man named Captain America.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of issues that I think people have explored quite a bit. I think it's deconstruction of the superhero genre is a pretty thriving field right now, but there's definitely like the weird like American worship elements. There's like the sort of like the Ubermensch kind of like one powerful, like some people are better than others and it's their responsibility and duty to save the world kind of thing.
It's kind of what we're talking about with like super rich people, like
yeah,
responsibility.
Exactly.
But these are heroes, right? Compared to like
I mean,
billionaires.
They're often they're one and the same. I mean, like on the Patriot Act, Hassan used the example. Well, not his guest used the example of Batman.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne. His money. He's a billionaire. His money comes from this huge, powerful corporation, right?
Yep. What's it called? Wayne Industries, I think.
Yeah,
right.
And
does that ever explain what he does?
I don't know. I'm not expert on the Batman lore, but
he has this industry that makes money for him.
Yeah, and presumably this comes at a cost to sort of like the local area, right?
Like
of Gotham. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at the very least, it makes a lot of money that could be used to just improve Gotham, right?
Right. Okay, yeah.
But you never read a comic about Bruce Wayne like creating some affordable housing or like rehabilitation programs or
yeah.
Instead, he spends
a whole comic about like doing like development.
I mean, yeah, it would probably be like maybe not as interesting of a comic book to the same people, but instead, how he spends his money is he develops all these gadgets for himself so he can go and
beat up criminals.
Yeah, who are ostensibly just people who are poor in his neighborhood, right?
And also the example that was used in the
in the show, and I think that really kind of encapsulates sort of the billionaire mentality, right?
Well, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm not sure how you. That makes a lot of sense. Like, this is the way you take your outlet, right? Like, you do this instead of like what you could do, right?
Yeah, it's like no matter how powerful of a suit you can make yourself, like how hard you can punch people, like none of that will ever do as much good as making sure that people grow up with in a safer house with like more education and yada yada,
like
right?
A warm place, like heating or
exactly right.
Oh.
So it's kind of really supports that attitude of the powerful people deserve to be more powerful and they should decide how the world is run, basically, right?
That's the justification for it, or
I mean that's how we view billionaires and that's how we view superheroes, right? Like the idea is that they're powerful on their own merit,
okay,
and that they make all these decisions for the world,
okay,
independently, and that's okay because they're more powerful than us, they're better than us.
Oh,
right?
Interesting.
Yeah,
because when I think about it, like that is kind of how the world is run, I guess. Because like I always talk about like lobbying, right?
Yeah,
like lobbying is like, it's like you have like your companies like lobbying for like policy, right? That's literally buying political favor. Like, how is that not illegal? That's like literally corruption, isn't it?
Yeah, like even in our seemingly democratic process, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, and then I would right, and then I would talk to my professor about it, and he'd be like, "How is this okay?" And he's like, "It's because they make the rules."
Yeah,
right. We're playing by like their field, like their rules. Like we don't. Is it really a democratic society if it's run by companies? Scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, and sort of another thing I was thinking, actually, I got the new Spider-Man game, which is actually pretty good.
Is it cheap now?
I don't know.
Because I've been looking at it.
Oh, okay, you can borrow it. You can borrow it from me after.
I'll trade you for, I don't know, what do you want, Kingdom Hearts?
Oh, yeah, okay, sure. But, I mean, it's really fun. Like, the swinging's good, the fighting's good, everything's good.
It just looks great, yeah.
But
I love Spider-Man. I love superheroes.
Yeah.
talking smack about a superhero, like how they're, like, horrible, but, like, oh, man, no, at the end of the day.
But something, I was really thinking playing it is, like, and again, not really necessarily a fresh thought here, but it's like superheroes are, like, tend to be, like, very, like, status quo,
Yeah. I can definitely... Well, okay, what do you mean? Elaborate.
Like, it really came to me when I was, playing the Spider-Man game, and then, like, he's, like, like, beating up some I don't know, bank robbers or something like that. And then, Spider-Man says to them, if you put half as much work into, like, real careers, you'd be, as you did into crime, you'd be so successful, blah blah blah. So it's this mentality that it's like people are only do crime because they're lazy or evil, right? Which is not the case, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. Right? And how, really most of the time I'm just like, Did
you cringe at that quote or something? Or
it made me think, because it's like, oh, I'm spending most of the game just punching low level, like, just
criminal people.
Yeah, like, just punching them off of roofs and stuff.
Killing them.
Actually, Spider-Man is, like, I guess, like, canonically a not killer.
Okay.
But in the game, like, when you knock people off buildings, I don't know, somehow they, like, get webbed to the side of the building.
Oh.
Like, I don't know, I guess the idea is that, you put, like, a web thing on them that triggers later.
Prevents them from, like, dying, or
yeah,
even though they're on the side of a building, like, with no way to get down.
Yeah. Yeah. But what was I saying?
The idea of that
yeah,
people commit crimes because
yeah,
they're poor or whatever. Or...
Yeah, and, like, I think, a lot of superheroes in general are like
status quo, right?
Status quo, and, like, have you ever read the comic book Red Sun? I believe that's
Superman one.
Yeah, I think
if he is born in Russia instead of America.
Yeah, in the Soviet Union. Yeah.
Have you read it?
Yeah, actually, I have it here if you want to borrow it.
I mean, it could be a good read. Yeah. After my
maybe I should
book.
maybe I shouldn't spoil it necessarily then, but
this is a good example of the.
Yeah, it could be, and I think this speaks more to just sort of like comic book writing culture than anything else, or maybe nerd culture at large. But it has sort of this opportunity to really kind of open up, like, a complex discussion of, looking at sort of our accepted way of life, Superman's values. Like, you think it would be that, but actually, in the end, it's just more like, America number one.
What? Really?
Yeah, it's like
in the era of the Red Sun.
That's pretty much pretty much like the whole, like, pretty much what the comic book comes down to. It's that.
Really?
Yeah.
But, like, in a cynical way, or like
No, just, like, straight up. It's like.
Really.
Basically, the end of the book is like Superman is doing something. It's like, this authoritarian, like, dictator, and then Lex Luthor, like, basically says like a one-liner to him.
Like, okay.
A devastating one-liner, and then Superman's like, no. Now I realize that the Soviet way of life is wrong, and America was the best the whole time. The end.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, it's very disappointing.
It was, like, great up until that part, or?
It starts off promising, like, a lot of the, superhero stuff tends to be, but, sort of like I think we've talked about this, like, so many times, but
Probably.
Like Civil War. Marvel Civil War,
okay.
Like the movie, and I read some of the comic, and it's like the movie in particular, it's like these interesting issues of, like, kind of like what we were talking about before. It's like individual versus like democratic control. This is like, is it like really okay for like people who are individually, you know, as powerful and impactful as nuclear bombs to be just doing whatever they want? That's like, you know, if someone
taking the law into their hands or whatever.
Yeah, you know, if you had someone like just a normal, if like you had a nuke, like maybe even you built it, you're born with it, or you built it yourself. Does it still make it okay that you can just point it wherever you like?
Oh,
you know what I mean? That's kind of
that's
like
a weird discussion. I don't know how to.
I mean, that's
think about that quite yet.
Yeah, and I mean that's essentially the question that was sort of raised in Civil War. But by the end of the movie, and I didn't read the whole comic, you know, run.
The continuity.
Yeah, I don't know if you call it a series because it's like all the series overlapping.
It takes place in a lot of comics, throughout a whole bunch of comics.
But you know, at the end of the movie, they just kind of forgot about that conflict, and it was just sort of like
the ending was like they went to that place and they're like, hey, remember when this happened? Like you knew about this? And like, yeah, I guess. And then he got really angry and like, what?
Yeah, so that's sort of the climax of the movie just becomes about like Captain America being sad that Iron Man wasn't truthful to him or something.
It was vice versa, I think.
Oh, yeah, or something like that.
The Winter Soldier killed the parents, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Spoilers.
That's right. But you know, that's sort of like, you know, okay, you know, that's got some drama to it, but I mean, like, that's less, you know, conceptually interesting than the complex issues of like
what is like really like addressing.
Yeah, like how much power should a person have? Like, what gives them the right to have that power, et cetera, right?
And whether like what you do with it too, right?
Yeah, and like, I was reading this other comic. I think it was the Batman Who Laughs or something like that, or was it the? Anyways, it was one
Killing
where
Joke.
No, I've read the Killing Joke, but it's a different one.
No, I'm not sure.
But it's one where I think the Joker becomes Batman or something like that. Okay. Anyways, well, like to make it short, to cut it short here. The point I'm getting at, it's like a lot of these comics like raise interesting ideas, but eventually by the end, everything is exactly the same, and no questions have really, like, nothing has really been significantly challenged. You know what I mean?
Is it like is it because it's a comic book medium and it has like its kind of agenda to fulfill? I don't know. Well,
sort of like, you know, and I'm sure there's lots of people who've written or thought about this more extensively than me, but the way I see it is that like comic books, like they kind of have to be, they essentially have to be status quo, like in the same way as like the most episodic sitcoms do, because Batman is always just Batman. There can be no character development, like, because no one individually like controls the story of Batman. It's a bunch of writers. Yeah, it's like you take the toy off the shelf to play with it, you know, in your store, and like you can take it weird places, but eventually you got to put it back exactly the way you found it, right?
Batman has to be Batman at the end of the day.
Yeah, there can be no, you know, Superman, like if you write about Superman questioning his ideals, he has to, you know, somehow forget about that. Back. Yeah. And because he just goes back to being the same Superman that other people can.
So they're just templates.
Yeah, and they're sort of like essentially static characters, and I mean,
yeah, I can see that.
You know, like even in the Marvel movies, there's a little bit of development of Iron Man. You know, there's some character arcs. I don't want to say that there is nothing per se, but I think just the nature of superheroes really kind of resists any real character development, any real critical reflection on who they are or what they do.
Because they have to be.
Yeah, they have to fit in a box. Really.
Yes, exactly. Then like now that I think about like Thor, I never watched Thor 1, 2, but I imagine that's what Thor was like. Always just been Thor.
Yeah,
he's just Thor. I love Thor.
Yeah,
Chris Hemsworth Thor, but he's just kind of the same guy.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to say that it's impossible that there are absolutely no character development. Just that the nature of it really resisted.
Yeah.
And even if there's development within, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, once that's over, or in other media, those characters will completely, for the most part, go back to being the way they were. Right?
I mean, I'm inclined to agree because like that's what's been like for the past 10 years, right? But you know, I don't know, maybe it's just to be a sign of the times how like if you compare like is Cap from like the 70s the same Cap now? Probably.
I mean, you know, yes and no. I don't want to say that there aren't changes, but I think certainly like a lot less than really some like other formats of media and characters, right?
The ways like characters are written, right?
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, I just think of like Thanos from like the 70s.
Yeah,
it's the hokey pokey villain with like a Thanos copter and like funny villain things, right?
Yeah.
To like he's like a I don't know, serious object of attention.
Yeah. I mean, there are some changes and you can put spin-ons on things for sure. But
at the end of the day, is it the same with Thanos with a Thanos copter? I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like he's still gonna be this, big purple bad guy like 50 years from now, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, I never considered that. I think we can always go on and on with like this.
Yeah, for sure.
But we got it. Like we'll just leave this up for this episode. We can go on to the next part for the next episode. If that's cool with you.
Yeah.
So we'll just end part 1 there.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then, that'll be it. Thanks.
Okay.